Dave. You asked for it, so we brought you the Niagara Peninsula. In this episode, we've got some big names that have undergone big changes and secret spots that the locals enjoy that should be on your radar. This is the Niagara you only thought you knew.
Our first stop on the Niagara Fam will be here at the Hilton with Mary Ann Quaint, who's the Director of Corporate Sales. I understand that the property was built in the year 2000, but that the tower that we're in right now is the North Tower, and it was constructed in 2009. But in the meantime, there have been some changes that you've implemented. So tell me a little bit about what we're experiencing.
Well, we have gone through a number of changes in the past little while. We've built this brand new building. We have added 500 all brand new suites to the property. So we are the largest property when it comes to room inventory in Niagara Falls at this point. There's a number of things though that are really exciting about the property that we've added. Things like this room that we're in. It's our presidential suite. It is our crowning jewel.
One of the things that I would want to know as a meeting planner is what your meeting space inventory is.
Well, the hotel itself has 8 meeting rooms, a total of about 12,000 square feet. Our ballroom is just shy of 5,400 square feet. We also have, in addition to that, 5 smaller meeting rooms, which are great for those groups of 20 to 30 people. So for our meeting rooms perspective, we have the ability to service up to 200, and that's sort of our magic number. There's so much more to do outside of the room. We have our brand new Brasa Brazilian Steakhouse, which is a concept of gauchos preparing meat at your table. It has an opportunity for you to do the buyouts that you might want to do for larger groups. We have 390 seats in there. But if you do have a very intimate group that you'd like to bring in and just reward them for hard work, we have opportunities for you to be able to seat them together in groups as small as 25.
Hi.
Nice to have you here. I'm Carrie.
Nice to meet you, Jennifer Wood.
Can I hang up your coat?
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Our next stop on the FAM tour is with Carrie Painter, who is the president of the Niagara Convention and Civic Center.
We're just delighted to have you here because it really is hard to express a building that's a rendering and a blueprint and make it tangible. And we know it's important to planners. Finishes say everything, and all the details matter, and food and the decor, and so we're delighted to have you so we can show it.
So if you're planning on opening in April of 2011, how many salespeople do you have on the road right now?
We have 6 people out now on the road, which we're pretty excited about.
Where is your team at with the development process?
We are finalizing a bit of the actual structure. At the very same time, we're picking chairs and carpet. So it's a really fascinating project. It's a design, build, bid. So everything sort of happens at one time.
What's the proximity to the hotels and to the attractions here in Niagara?
Often people build a center and then they hope to build the rest. And in this case, all the rest is here. It's just drop the center in and then it's magic. There's 5,500 hotel rooms right up the street. There's lots of dining and attractions, and if people want to bring families, they can. If they want to drink wine and golf, it's just such a variety. So it's wonderful to have the building just ready to drop in the middle of all that. We're looking at the building 9 months into construction. We broke ground last May 1st. We were very excited. We landed a helicopter with our first customers who signed contracts. And this is 9 months into construction now. We are targeted to open April of 11. The substantial completion will be done in November. Thanks very much. You're welcome. I'm glad we could show it to you.
Now this is an exciting experience for me personally as a pilot, but one thing that I would like to ask is how a group could use this experience to spice up their event.
For some really cool events at the wineries, there's no better way to arrive in a helicopter. You not only get to see all the great sights of the Niagara Peninsula, but you also get to arrive in style. We offer both group rates for our regular scenic flight, which is about 10 minutes long, and we offer group rates for multiple helicopters into the wineries and other events in the Niagara Peninsula. Niagara Helicopters is open all year round. We start flying at 9 o'clock till sunset.
So let's see what this Niagara Fam has in store for us now.
Although many people confuse Clifton Hill and Lundy's Lane as Niagara Falls downtown, the downtown core of the old Niagara Falls has undergone recent renovation and rejuvenation with huge influxes of income that has developed boutiques, galleries, shops, something like this, a glass blowing facility, which would be an interesting and up-and-coming place to come for groups. I'm here with Amy Duffy, who is the Corporate Sales Manager of the Niagara Parks Commission, and she's going to tell us now about what's new in the area.
Currently we're sitting in Elements on the Falls restaurant, which is located in Table Rock Center, and very much so everything on the second level of Table Rock is brand new. We invested $38 million, and in June of 2008 we reopened Elements on the Falls restaurant, which previously was Table Rock Restaurant. Many people would know it as that. And completely renovated from floor to ceiling. The whole Grand Hall, which is the adjoining venue next door, which is also available for reception venues for corporate and association events.
I understand too that the Niagara Parks Commission is responsible for a number of golf courses and restaurants beyond Niagara Falls itself, so maybe you can tell me about that.
That's correct. We also own and operate Legends on the Niagara Golf Course, which has 2 18-hole courses on site, as well as a 9-hole executive course. And Whirlpool Golf Course, which many people know, it's a local favorite, and it's an 18-hole course as well.
If a group were to come in, an association, what have you, and they wanted to do a buyout, is that possible, or are these restaurants that are strictly open to the public?
Nope. Yeah, we actually do exclusive events at all of our venues, whether it be a garden venue or a restaurant venue, a golf course. We do private access to all of the venues.
You can, as a corporate group, when you're coming into the area, organize being able to have your corporate colors illuminated on the actual falls.
So it's also a complimentary service that we offer. So when you host a dining event with us, private or non-private, for a portion of the evening we will illuminate the falls.
Well, thank you very much, Amy. It was great to be able to learn about what's new in the area, but also to remind us of some of the breadth and the scope of the services that you offer.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On our way to Niagara-on-the-Lake, we've come across a gem. It is the Ravine Vineyard Estate Winery, and I'm here with Paul Harbour, who is one of the owners, and he's going to tell us about this fabulous spot.
Yes, well, we're fairly new to the winery game at Ravine Vineyard. We've been open since November the 8th, 2008. The farm that our winery is on has been in my mom's family for, well, 5 generations. 1867 was the year that my great-great-grandfather, David Jackson Lowry, purchased the farm, and he actually is credited with the first commercial planting of a vineyard in the area in 1869.
Now, I noticed when we came in that there's actually a dining room that seems to be with the authentic fireplace.
We actually are able to have, well, the working fireplace and intimate dinners around that, or then there's a parlor room that we have the harvest tables set up in there. Actually, I think we have a group of about 30 people doing a tasting out there
I can
now.
hear them.
Yeah. Right now we have a deli bakery on site where I like to start rolling out casual dining experiences or whatever, so we can accommodate large groups, and also like with families can come, and there's soccer balls out the back in our event area. But when I want to step into the Woodruff House or the Barrel Cellar, it would be for more kind of high-end dining, tableside carving, garridons and all that, like real French style service, but also keep it casual as well, so nobody feels out of place. Everybody's approachable to everybody.
And this is the original homestead.
Yeah, so we have all documentation of the house when it originally stood on the corner of Creek Road and Werner Road. Then there's all the photos of the house being deconstructed. We have also, along the way when we found it, the photos of it in storage up in Port Hope, us bringing it back and the recreation. It's taken us 6 years now to build this house from the pieces, figuring them all out. It's the biggest jigsaw puzzle I've ever come across, but it's taken time, but it's been well worth it, for sure.
My host on this fam is not the local tourism bureau. It's actually a friend of mine who has been working in the industry as a local DMC here, and her role in the Niagara region is to give planners an opportunity to see Niagara with a new set of eyes. Natalie, I don't know if you know, but I'm actually from the area, and so I do feel like I'm familiar with the area, but I'm happy to have this experience with you because you've certainly opened my eyes to some things that I didn't even know existed. You know, this place that we're in right now, for example?
It's one of the things that we hear a lot is, oh, I know Niagara, I've been there a couple of times, and as someone who lives here year-round, is a local, I'm continuously finding new things that are great to be translated into the corporate market. So, you know, the Niagara that you know changes a lot.
Now, one of the challenges that that planners may face if they're coming into the Niagara region is that there are a number of bureaus and organizations that represent the area in their various pockets, and they have their own specializations, obviously. But by working with a local DMC such as Natalie, who, like she said, is a local, she's able to navigate that conversation with a little bit more finesse and insight to make our process a little more streamlined.
That's correct, and when you're working in a particular area in Niagara, you might have a great depth of knowledge, and our advantage is that we have a greater breadth of knowledge. So we might just have a greater pool to choose from if we look at the Niagara region from its entirety, you know, right? From Fort Erie to Jordan, you know, sometimes out to Grimsby, and that allows us to find perhaps newer, unique venues that you can use. So you can have glitz and glam in one part, and maybe quaint and cozy in a different section.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Natalie. I appreciate having the opportunity to come out and see your backyard.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Hi Jennifer, welcome to Enniskillen.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Debbie Pratt, who is the Public Relations Manager at Enniskillen Winery.
Yes, and we're at the time of year that most people don't think that you'd be outside at a winery, and it's our wonderful ice wine time. Ice wine harvesting as well as ice wine festival. Most people think of ice wine as one wine, a white ice wine, and what's interesting here, you can see Vidal, which is our traditional classic one, which are these grapes right here, and next to it is a sparkling Vidal, so people are surprised that there's actually a sparkling ice wine, and that's a whole other dimension with those bubbles just dancing on your tongue and cutting a bit of the concentration. And then on the other extreme, we actually have a Cabernet Franc ice wine, which is a red ice wine, and people love this because it is so good with chocolate.
When do you pick the grapes for the ice wine?
Well, we have a person who completely controls that for us, and her name is Mother Nature. Oh. But legally, you can only pick ice wine when the temperatures reach -8 degrees Celsius or colder.
So what else are we going to look at when we're here today?
Well, at Enniskillen, besides what we've talked about, the outside and the vineyard, we have that mystique of the underground cellar where there's private space for groups to come and taste or meet or have dinners, and a demonstration kitchen, and a fascinating room called the Riedel Room, which lends to some interesting comparisons in glassware. So please have a seat. And the whole idea here is the shape of the glass matters when you're tasting wine. So you'll see you have a small glass, and in that is Riesling ice wine. I want you to pour the Riesling ice wine into the larger glass, which is actually an ice wine glass. So first we're going to smell from the smaller glass and give it a little swirl and smell, and you can pick up some aromas, but now smell it from the Riedel glass. Lots more layers, and it opens it up. So the second part of it is the taste. So if you taste from the smaller glass first, you get the rich concentration, and it sits fairly close to the tip of your tongue. Watch where it sits with the Riedel ice wine glass. It's almost like it's a different wine. It goes to the back part of your tongue, so therefore it hits more flavor components, and it broadens the complexity of the wine.
Beautiful.
Jennifer, thanks so much for coming to Enniskillen today. I've really enjoyed having you here.
Thank you, and thank you for opening my mind to the ice wine experience. I didn't realize that the glassware played such an important role.
It sure does, and please come back.
Hi.
Hi Jennifer, so great to meet you. Welcome to Stratus.
Thanks very much. I'm here with Haley Bishop, who is the Corporate Sales and Hospitality Manager of Stratus Vineyard.
Come on in.
Thank you. So Haley, I understand that with Stratus, if we're coming in to do a group tasting, that you prefer us to be seated at the tables.
We do. This provides a really focused environment in which we can taste the wines. And so as opposed to doing a very hasty tasting experience, we can sit, we can relax, enjoy each other's company, and especially the wine and the vista.
The view of the vineyards beyond is beautiful.
If you take this wine and give it a good swirl, the first step in the tasting process is to actually get a sense of the bouquet. And with this wine in particular, because it's such a complex wine with 7 different grape varietals, the nose on it really gives you a sense of the story of this wine. Next, of course, would be to try it. We hope you find it as delicious as we do. It's a highly crafted wine, hand-picked, hand-sorted, and it's done with hundreds of wine tastings by our winemaking team.
That's beautiful. Now, in terms of Stratus, the winery, we've already seen a couple of wineries on this FAM. How does this stand out?
We try to set ourselves apart in the sense that we were the first building in Canada and first winery in the world fully to achieve LEED certification. That acronym stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. So in everything we do and everything that encompasses our philosophies in the building, we try to be as sustainably and green focused as we can be. Depending on the time of year, we have multiple spaces that they can use in this boutique winery. So we are small, we specialize in intimate entertaining. The room that we're in right now is called the Vineyard Tasting Room. We can seat up to 20 in here, host a reception with wine and cheese. We can step out to the Vineyard Terrace, which is just outside the doors here, complete with a gas fireplace. In the spring and summer, it's a beautiful space where wine receptions and full alfresco dinners can take place. The Stratus Tasting Room, which is a retail store by day, has a great wine library setting. And in that space, we can again do wine-paired food stations or seated experiences for up to 50. And last, but certainly not least, is the very coveted space of the Press Alley. It's nicknamed that because that's where the pressing takes place for our signature wine portfolio. In there, we can host up to 100 seated guests at a 100-foot long expanse of table, and it's a very impactful look and feel when you first walk in.
When we arrived, you were generous enough to feed my crew and I in a beautiful room that had wood walls.
That's one of our best kept secrets. That's called the Mesquite Room. Of course, as today we hosted a working lunch, generously catered by Stone Road Grill. We can also do a private seated tasting in there. It becomes a great breakout room. It can be used for gifting, has a lot of potential, and is one of the smaller spaces that can become part of the larger whole for a very involved program here.
On this FAM, we've been highlighting the hidden gems of the Niagara region, and in this instance, I'd like to showcase an arrangement that's by Kathy Martin Flowers. They are the exclusive florists to the Stratus Vineyards, and you can see from this arrangement they have achieved perfectly the Zen minimalistic style that Stratus represents. Our host this evening is Lily Kazan, who's the General Manager of Queen's Landing. Thank you so much, Lily, for being so generous to put us up in such a beautiful hotel this evening.
Thank you for coming.
Now, if a meeting planner had been here several years ago with a group, what would they see that's new today?
Oh, there's lots of differences in our organization, in our hotel. Probably the biggest change is 2 years ago, we did a complete reno of all of our guest rooms. We went from a pattern that was very floral and very Georgian and just updated it and made it look very modern, but still with a little bit of the Georgian feel.
Queen's Landing is one of 3 vintage hotels in Niagara-on-the-Lake. So how do you differentiate yourself from the other properties?
Well, Queen's Landing really is the flagship hotel for conference. This hotel has 2 large ballrooms, as well as having 12 breakout rooms, all on the same floor. And in the center of it is a meeting space where you could have registration tables.
Does Queen's Landing offer off-site catering services?
We're the exclusive off-site caterers for Chateau Charmes Winery, which is an award-winning estate winery that's just 15 minutes away. And on-site, you're working with the vintage team, both the waitstaff and our culinary team.
On a personal level, I understand that you have a food and beverage background. So how does that influence your meeting services in-house?
I am very involved in food and beverage here and with our meetings and with our meeting planners, and you know, sometimes probably more than my team wants me to be, because it is something that is very true to me.
Thank you so much, Lily. It's wonderful to have gotten to know what's new here on site and to understand a little bit more one-on-one what your passion is as General Manager.
Want to go check it out?
Our host for dinner this evening is Celia Liu, who is the general manager of the Oban Inn. And Celia, I have to say, this is a beautiful, quaint, intimate property. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Well, nice to have you here, Jen.
Thank you.
Glad you could join us for dinner, and looking forward to it. Our little inn of 26 guest rooms, a boutique property here in Niagara-on-the-Lake. We have a full-service spa, as you mentioned, as well as a full-service restaurant. It's quite popular for groups to come in here and take the entire property. We have 2 meeting rooms. One is an executive boardroom that seats 14, and one is a meeting space that hosts up to 25.
What makes this unique and stand out against other small inns that are dotted all throughout the Niagara region?
The Oban, I think, is one of those landmarks here in town that stands for the history that we have here.
So Celia, tell me, is this the only property that you own here in Niagara-on-the-Lake?
Well, we do have a sister property. It's a restaurant called the Shaw Cafe on the main street.
Okay.
It's open year-round, and it's a lovely setting right downtown Queen Street with an outdoor terrace and patio. It's a great setting for dining, and we do a lot of wonderful events over there as well.
So obviously it's open to the general public, but
Yes.
as a group coming in, can we do a buyout, or can we use semi-private space? Or?
Absolutely. You
Okay.
can definitely do a buyout, and they
Yeah.
have a wonderful private space upstairs, part of their wine bar that you can also rent out.
Wonderful. Well, I know, having come to this property from our visit at the Queen's Landing earlier, the proximity to downtown is walking distance, and the
Yes.
shops and the restaurants and the galleries and of course the Shaw Festival. It makes your location unique and extremely accessible, and yet slightly removed from any hustle and bustle that you might experience on a Saturday afternoon in Niagara-on-the-Lake. As a meeting planner in this industry, it's wonderful to have those special gems that you can pull out when a client needs something that's unique and interesting. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. On our last day of the FAM, we're here with Kelly Shannon, who is the Director of Sales for Polar Estates and Hillebrand Winery. And Hillebrand is where we are right now. And Kelly, tell me about the space that we're in.
The space that we're in right now is our Trius Red Cellar. It was a new addition with the recent renovation that we went through in 2007. So this cellar here is one of our show cellars. Traditionally, the barrels are lit with tea light candles throughout, so it just kind of creates the ambiance. The experience itself is led by one of our sommeliers who will walk you through the food and wine pairing, and Chef Frank Dodd creates a 6 or 8 course tasting menu for the groups while they're on site. As I mentioned in the Trius Red Cellar, Jennifer, this is our vineyard pavilion. This is the new addition to the estate. Right now we have it set for 42 guests, but the room does accommodate up to 120. The reason for coming up here today is I also wanted to introduce you to our executive chef, Frank Dodd, Jennifer Wood from FAMTripTV.
Jennifer,
Nice to meet you,
welcome.
Frank.
I've been executive chef here for 4 years now. And what we do here with the culinary part of the winery is we bring a very unique local aspect to it, very farm to table. So what we're doing here is we're using totally local Niagara, Ontario and Canadian product. But right now I've got to get back to the kitchen. I'm cooking lunch for everybody.
Yeah.
It's very nice to meet you.
Our crew is looking forward to lunch.
So.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Frank.
We're just going to walk over closer to the vineyard so you can see the view of our backyard vineyards. As you can see, we have the escarpment in the background as well. So this is the view that your guests will enjoy while dining in the vineyard pavilion.
Beautiful. An important consideration for planners in coming to an area for a convention or a meeting will be those items that they would like to give their delegates as a takeaway. And the Niagara region happens to have some really interesting non-alcoholic alternatives to the wine, of course, that we've been showcasing throughout this episode.
This is a locally grown and bottled 100% natural juice product. They make great little breaks or takeaways. Here we have Verjus, which is made at Featherstone Winery. And Verjus can be used to make different dressings, something called winemaker's lemonade, where you mix it with soda and lime.
Now I see we have Anna Olson. She is the executive chef for the Niagara Convention and Civic Center. And I know that I was given a gift when I came to the area. She personalized it for me, so that's a great option for delegates who are foodies or interested in the food, the culinary arts. One of the items that has come to my attention recently is the ice syrup, which is, I understand, a non-alcoholic variation that has a very similar taste to ice wine. Now, another item too we have featured is the Riedel glasses, and in this case this one has been engraved as a personalized item. Now this piece in particular has caught my eye, and I understand that it is the interior of a wine barrel that's been stained with the red wine as it's been aging, and in this case we're showcasing it with candles and rocks, but Natalie has used it as a centerpiece on her dining room table, assembled with some beautiful green apples, and you could give this as a gift to your delegates. You could use it here during a meeting as your centerpieces on your meeting space tables, or you could take it home and use it at your home like you've done.
Absolutely.
And serve food on it because it is a food safe item. Thank you, Nat.
You're welcome.
Natalie promised me that we would finish this fam on a high note, and I have to say she's done a great job, because the three gentlemen that are with me today are Ed, who's representing Flat Rock Cellars. We have Brad, who represents Tawes, which is where we're standing right now in his wine cellar. And then we also have David, who represents Featherstone. Now, gentlemen, Ed specifically, you are representing the Ontario Wine Council. Why would a planner need to know that you exist?
You know, it really is an organization that pulls all of the wineries together, and I think it's really important as an industry to help anybody who's planning any visit or tour to the Niagara region to be able to go to one central location, find all the information that they're looking for, and have a source that they can get some advice from.
So from a meeting planner's perspective, really it's like a CVB for the wineries. One of the things that I want to highlight is the fact that I have three gentlemen standing with me versus the one-on-one interviews that we've been doing through the rest of the segment. And the reason for that is to highlight the collaborative nature of the relationship between the wineries that's up here on the bench or escarpment area. Brad.
Yes.
Tawes, we're here in your space right now.
Yes.
Why would we want to know about you? What makes this location unique?
Well, starting with our farming, we farm all of our estate fruit organically and biodynamically, so there's no commercial herbicides or pesticides. We bring farm animals into the vineyards to work. We have lambs, we have ducks, we have chickens, we do some horse plowing. We're a 6-level gravity winery.
So as a group destination, could we come and do a buyout and just settle in and get comfortable with your wines?
Yep, what we like to do is we like to work with smaller groups. You know, there's a lot to tell about the Tawes story. We feel that they take away much more from their Tawes experience.
Now, David, I actually had a chance to experience your winery on a bike tour, which we did throughout the region several years ago. And I understand that one of the fun things that I saw when I was there were the sheep mingling amongst the vines.
Certainly our farm is quite small. Our winery is probably the smallest in the peninsula. And we live on site, my wife and I. And so I do the farming, and the sheep arrive the first week of July. And they work in the fields like the rest of us out there, pulling leaves and everything else. My wife's a falconer, so she flies a bird of prey on the vineyard for bird control. So we're very integrated in what we do, and it's our home, so we kind of welcome people to it, and you get to see the whole thing for sure.
Great.
I mean, you know, the other thing I'll add to that too is everybody has a unique experience. It's not like you go to one winery and you go to the next winery and they're all the same. You know, at Flat Rock Cellars, for example, you know, we've got a great outdoor fire pit, and we get the wood burning fire, and people hang out by that and drink a glass of wine. Every winery offers a different experience. In particular, down here in the 20 Valley, we all have our little eclectic quirks, if you will, and you really get to meet us. You know, we're not big corporate. You get to meet the owners, the winemakers, and really get a true experience of what it's like to make wine.
And the other thing is being small, we can customize. We can work with the group as to what they want, what their budget is, and you know, and we always try to throw something special in at the end.
Wonderful. So similar to a dine around that you might organize in a downtown core, you could organize a wine around. Because of the collaborative nature, there's not that level of competition that you might experience elsewhere. So it's an important thing for us to feature on the segment. So gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing with me.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank Natalie because as our host for this fam, she has exceeded my expectations in introducing me to things that really opened my eyes to the depth and the breadth of the Niagara region beyond what I may have originally thought of. Niagara Falls, stunning, great services, beyond what the general tourist might experience. And Niagara-on-the-Lake as kind of a removed, relaxed, refined destination. I think that this FAM experience has been wonderful. It really sets the tone for smaller communities and looking at a larger area when we move on with next episodes.
Well, our pleasure, and I know you enjoyed the wine out at the bench, so certainly that one as well. So absolutely. Well, we'll need to get you back because I figured that we could probably do 4 weeks of programming without repeating anything in Niagara. So there were tons of things that we just didn't have time for, but you'll come back, right?
Absolutely. I'll bring a few groups back.
Absolutely.
And so will you. Thanks, man.
You're welcome.